Hi, Andy XL back with another FIFA 2026 podcast. 96 games down in this tournament now and just 8 left to play. And we're into the quarterfinals, and the first of them will be played today between France and Morocco. This for me is the best of the four quarterfinals. With France as the clear tournament favourites, and rightly so, they were runners up 4 years ago, losing to Argentina in that thrilling final. And it was the French that knocked Morocco out in the semi finals of that tournament. So, two teams that made the last four last time around, but only one can make it that far this time. Will it be the French again, or will Morocco avenge that semi final loss? France have been outstanding in this tournament. In 90 minutes, they played 5, won 5, scored 14, and let in just 2 goals. They breezed through the group stage, winning 3-1 against Senegal, 3-0 against Iraq, and 4-1 against the Norwegian backup team. Senegal did hold out for over an hour in that first game, but eventually the flair and talent France have in their front four allowed them to get the win in that one. They only just edged, went a bit Harry Kane there. They only just edged ahead of Senegal in terms of attacking possession in that game. And it may surprise you to know that that was also the case against Iraq, although Iraq had no shots on target as they lacked any cutting edge, which France certainly do not suffer a lack of. As I say, that Norway game saw the Norwegians rest all of their starters, so holds little relevance really. Although once again, it's worth noting that France had 51% of attacking possession in that game compared to Norway's 40%. So whilst they're the better of it, they certainly weren't dominant. What that tells us overall about the possession stats is that France are not a possession dominant team like Spain, for instance. Indeed, they adopt the opposite approach of taking the risky passes to create openings, whereas Spain like to avoid risk and wait for a defensive lap to give them a clear opening. But their attacking players, France's, of Mbappe, Dembele, Olise, Barcola, and Doué, have been scintillating in this tournament. So for me, restricting the supply is the only way to restrict the damage those players do. In the round of 32 game, France put up their best performance of the tournament with 53% of attacking possession, 25 shots, 12 of which were on target, resulting in an emphatic 3-0 win. And Sweden was simply outplayed in all departments by the French in that game. Now, in the round of 16, I'm going to end up talking about the other team more than France, but Paraguay adopted a clinical and shameful approach to try and stop the French in that round of 16. Adopting a defensive focus approach is fine, and in this game, the Paraguayans did just that, allowing France to have 66% of attacking possession. But to constantly foul your opposition many times off the ball, whilst constantly trying to harangue their better players and incite incidents that lead to red cards via retaliation, and to put the cherry on the cake, try the old rake the penalty spot trick when France were awarded a penalty. All of that was just simply appalling from the Paraguayan team. But despite all those Paraguayan antics, the French showed the fortitude and calmness and, dare I say, class they showed in that game. They can win games with other qualities than just their technical skills. And they certainly sent the Paraguayans home to consider their actions, shameful as they were. So, what can Morocco do to stop this French juggernaut? Well, firstly, it should be noted that the semi final of the 2022 tournament, Morocco actually matched the French in that game. Indeed, they had more attacking possession, 55% to France's 34. France did edge it in terms of shots, 14 to 13, and shots on target were very low, 2 to 1 in France's favour, meaning France scored with both shots on target, whilst Morocco failed to convert their only shot on target. Now, that was 4 years ago, and France's front four may even be more lethal even than that impressive front four of Mbappe, Dembele, Giroud, and Griezmann. But I could argue that Morocco are also a better team than they were 4 years ago, and it is certainly the case that reaching the semi-finals 4 years ago has given them new levels of confidence and belief. I mentioned about cutting off the supply to the front four of France already, and Morocco were able to do that to an extent 4 years ago, as the possession stats show. Now, in this tournament, they shared a draw with Brazil in their opening game, and it was pretty even in terms of possession in that one, too. They had 54% of possession against a pretty toothless Scotland in their second game, which they won 1-0 before beating Haiti 4-2 in their final group game, while they enjoyed 60% of the attacking possession, which is pretty much what you'd expect them to do. Then they went on to face a tough challenge in the round of 32 against the Netherlands, and the game went all the way to a roller coaster penalty shootout with the Moroccans winning that shootout. but the Moroccans had 61% of possession in that game, 11 shots to the Netherlands 6, and 5 shots on target against 2 for the Dutch. So all those stats say they were the better team and deserved to go through to the round of 16. There they came up against an athletic Canadian team who had the better of the first half, as the exertions of extra time from the previous game seemed to sap the Moroccans' energy a little. But in the second half, as the Canadians ran out of gas, the Moroccans dominated to win the game 3-0. Once again, by the end of the game, they had 50% possession compared to Canada's 37. France had won 14, drawn 1 and lost 1 of their 16 matches prior to the tournament, but Morocco are now on an incredible run of 49 games without losing in 90 minutes. They did draw 8 of those games in 90 minutes, but in the ones that went to extra time or penalties, they won 2 in extra time and 2 on penalties. And the other one was that farcical AFCON final of earlier this year, which I will leave you to decide who won it, as it's still in the hands of the courts. But, essentially Morocco drew with Senegal, lost on a penalty shootout and were then awarded it, but the circumstances of that penalty shootout were diabolical, basically. Um, so Morocco, if you give them the AFCON final, have now gone unbeaten in 49 games. Beating France in a World Cup final would be a great way to bring up the half century, and they have more chances of doing so than many are giving them. Would you give a team unbeaten in 49 games, including extra time and penalties, a 20 to 25% chance of winning? Well, that is what chance bookmakers are giving them. And even against this exceptional French team, they have to have a better chance than that. Now, I know some people would argue that Morocco, in that 49-game winning streak, Morocco's opposition hasn't been of the highest calibre. But bear in mind, there's plenty of African teams, good African teams they played in there. And how many teams go on a 49-game unbeaten run? It just doesn't happen against any opposition. So they deserve huge credit for that. But to beat the French, they will need to control the midfield, get the better of the deep-lying French midfielders to restrict the service to that deadly front four, and maybe go man-to-man on Elise or Dembele when they are in the number 10 position, which has primarily been Elise in this tournament. And then if they pull off that part of the scenario, we'll need to be clinical in taking what chances they are able to create themselves. So key players from Morocco, we know a skipper Ashraf Hakimi, but Ismail Saibari was their main threat up front, but he's out injured. So now they'll have to turn to Soufiane Rahimi to provide that cutting edge up front. The midfield four of the talented Ayoub Bayoudi, along with Azzedine Ounahi, Bilal El Khanous, and Neil Al Nui, may hold the key to this game from a Moroccan point of view. For France, we know that front four are their route to glory, but whichever of Rabiot, Tchouameni or Kone play in these deeper midfield roles will need to have strong games here, and the sometimes error-prone Deo Upamecano cannot afford any such errors here. I really think this is going to be probably about a severe test of the French will face in this tournament. The other matchups are probably a bit better for them through this tournament. Not saying they're guaranteed to win them, but this is a bad matchup for France, about as bad as it could be. And I can see this game ending 1-1 after 90 minutes as another really tight affair. Then all the pressure would be on the French. And given the Moroccans' record in extra time and penalties, it really is a 50-50 call who could win it after if it goes beyond 90 minutes. But the prices bookmakers are quoting, you'd have to rather be with the Moroccans than the French. So I'll take Morocco to throw this World Cup wide open by eliminating France, possibly on a penalty shootout. So that's today's game, done and dusted. Like I say, predicting a possible shock there. But like I say, I'm calling it as a 1-1 after 90 minutes. And then once you get into extra time and penalties, it basically becomes unpredictable. So it could go either way. I'm just saying that bookmakers' odds, I'd rather be with Morocco than France. But either team is capable of winning it in extra time and penalties, that's for sure. So, going to be an intriguing, tight game today, I think. I don't. It's always possible the French could just blow anybody away, and that could happen. But I think if anybody's capable of keeping a game tight against the French, it's the Moroccans. So that's how I see this one. I think it's going to go 1-1 after 90 minutes, and then it's all cards on the table from there on. So that's today's game. I'll come back with a preview of Spain v Belgium, which is tomorrow's quarterfinal, on the game day of the game, which will be tomorrow. See you soon.